Hello, travelers. Welcome back to Show and Tell with Reach the World. For over 20 years, Reach the World has used virtual exchange to inspire youth to become curious, confident global citizens. My name is Tim, and as part of Reach the World's efforts to support educators and families during the COVID-19 pandemic, we are sharing free live stream show and tell events with members of our global community. You can find an updated calendar of live stream events and much more at athome.reachtheworld.org. For today's show and tell, I'm very excited to welcome back travelers Abby Ferris and Josh Diltz. Abby and Josh have traveled together all over the world. And today they're going to share some of their favorite stories and souvenirs from Vietnam, Nepal, and Bolivia. If you want to learn more about Abby and Josh's travel experiences, we'll share a link to their recent virtual exchange from Bolivia in the YouTube chat bar. And if you're joining our live stream today, the chat bar is the perfect place to let us know you're here and share any questions for Abby and Josh. We'll get to as many questions as we can over the course of the next 25-30 minutes. And without any further delay, welcome to Show and Tell, Abby and Josh.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. So hi, everyone. I'm Abby.
Hi, I'm Josh. We are English as a second language teachers who have been traveling together for the last 5 years. And today we're really excited to be here and talk to you about some of our favorite places that we've had the privilege to travel to. So we'll jump right in. We're going to start with Vietnam. So Abby and I, actually Vietnam was the first place we traveled to together. We moved there to teach English, and that's where we actually started. Both of us started our English teaching career. We had planned originally to stay for about a year, and we stayed for about 3.5 years. It was just a really special place. You know, tourism is very new in Vietnam, so everybody there is just very interested and fascinated with foreigners and wants to learn about them, and also wants to share their culture with foreigners so they can take it back to their home country and teach people more about it. So I think we just felt a really strong sense of community, and teachers in Vietnam are very well respected. So I think that was huge for us too. It was interesting to, just be somewhere where a teacher is, someone who everybody actually really looks up to, and it was just a really amazing experience to be a part of the community there.
Yeah, I have the same sentiments as Josh, and I think, exactly why we decided to stay in Vietnam for over 3 years was just because we felt more connected to the community there than we had felt in our home country in a way, which was really ironic as foreigners coming in. But again, a lot of that was just because we were teaching English there, and there's just so much respect for teachers, and we just felt like, so many people just really embraced us and valued us, and we felt really purposeful. So this is a picture of me. This was at the end of my first year teaching English in Vietnam with some of my youngest students. So these kids are all between ages 5 and 7. And this was our last day together, but you'll probably notice a lot of them are not, well, all of them are not wearing any shoes. And that's because it's a cultural norm in Vietnam. When you go inside someone's home or inside a classroom, you take your shoes off as a sign of respect. So we always taught barefoot in the classroom in Vietnam. And then, this is Josh with some of his students in Vietnam. And this was at a summer camp program that his English center was having. And it was definitely a lot of fun and something I think you'll always remember.
Absolutely. Yeah, the children there were just absolutely delightful to teach. We really had a blast with them, didn't we? Yeah. So next, we'll talk a little bit about Nepal. So while we were living in Vietnam, Abby and I decided to take some time off from teaching, travel to Nepal. It had always been our dream to spend some time trekking in the Himalayas. So we actually spent 30 days trekking in the Mount Everest region. We made it to Everest Base Camp, which was awesome. And yeah, it was a really special experience because the way you trek there is you actually stay in people's homes along the trail. They call them tea houses. So it's tea house trekking, which was just an amazing way to learn about a community and the people. These people, they don't have much and they're in a very, very difficult part of the world to call home, but they make it work. And they were just so warm and happy, and it was just a really special time for us.
Yeah, I think so. Josh and I really have a passion for teaching, but also for trekking and spending time in the mountains. And we just felt like Nepal was just a dream that came true, basically, in better ways than we could have imagined. So this is a picture of us. We made it to the base camp of Mount Everest, and this was about 18,000 feet in elevation. And I think the top of Mount Everest is 29,000 feet. So we were just at the bottom. We were quite a ways from the top, but even getting here was quite a feat. And a lot of people come just to get to the base of Mount Everest from all over the world. So you'll see flags here from different travelers who have come and who have made it to base camp. And this is a picture of some kids that we met while we were trekking in Nepal on the way to base camp. And this little girl in particular will never forget. So as soon as she saw us, she came running out of the house and asked us for chocolate. I think that was one of the only English words she knew, and she actually had chocolate smeared all over her face when she came running out. And I think I'm not sure if these are her siblings or her friends, but they were just kind of watching her interact with us. But again, this is what made Nepal so special for us, was the time we had to really interact with the people there and staying with these families. We just felt like we got a really intimate kind of insider perspective just living with these people. And so their family is actually building this house behind this little girl. And this is a typical house that you would see in these remote parts of Nepal. So everything that's used to build the houses is actually carried in. There are no roads to these places. So they're usually carried in by people or by donkeys. So again, these people live in very difficult places, and they don't have a lot in terms of material possessions, but they were some of the most welcoming, open, happiest people we've ever met.
Yeah, absolutely. So next we will travel to Bolivia. So Bolivia, we actually were there pretty recently, earlier this year. It was really great. We went to Bolivia to do some volunteer work as teachers in a small community outside of La Paz. We were only there for a short while, a couple months, but we were just so welcomed into that community. I think all of the parents of the students themselves, and the other teachers there were just so happy to have us there. They really just welcomed us with open arms, and yeah, it was just a wonderful place to do some volunteer work. One of the things we were able to do there, which is something Abby and I have been wanting to do for a long time now, was to connect classrooms, a classroom in New York City with a classroom in this small village in Bolivia. And that was just a really special experience. The students absolutely loved it. They, I think were just very interested to see how their peers in other countries looked and sounded and how they lived. So I think it was a really great experience for the students as well as for Abby and I. It was really great.
Yeah, I think, Bolivia was one of the more recent countries we've been to. So we actually went just last fall. And by this point, we have been traveling for a few years. And I think we really had learned that our best experiences traveling have been the ones where we've had time to live and work and volunteer in these communities and just become immersed in them. So we knew when we went to Bolivia, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to volunteer and we wanted to be a part of the community and we wanted to give back. So that's what we did. And this call we were able to make happen between students in Bolivia and a class in New York City was large part because of Reach the World. So we want to thank you guys for that. But also we had a ton of support from the people in Bolivia, from parents, from teachers, from principals to make this call happen. And it was something that we will all, I think, remember forever. So yeah, that definitely holds a very special place in our hearts. And so these students are our English club students, and they were the students who were a part of that call. And this picture is us getting ready, kind of getting all our technology set up and ready to go for our big call with New York City. And this is a picture, one of our Bolivian co-volunteers who actually taught with us, she was a dancer and she had invited us. This was a dance festival in La Paz, which is a major city in Bolivia. And she invited us to come watch her dance quite a few times, actually. She's not in this picture, but we just thought that this was a really good representation of just how like colorful and lively and fun and welcoming Bolivian people are.
Yeah. So these are three places that we've had the privilege to travel to that really stood out in our mind. And you know, I think like most people, we started traveling to see the sights, you know, to see new places, see new things. But what we quickly realized was that the events that were really standing out in our minds were when we got to interact with the people and the local community. Which is huge. So whether that was, you know, volunteering or, you know, living with local families or working there, you know, I think that was something that really stood out for us, that you really have to take the time to, you know, get into these communities and become a part of the community to really take away everything. Yeah, you know, it can be difficult at times, but, you know, I think when you travel to a new place, you are expecting major differences in culture, right? And that's maybe one of the reasons why you go there. But I think what surprised us more often than not is the similarities that we share. You know, everybody is trying to get the same thing out of life, basically. And I think it's really important to travel and to see that, sure, there are major differences between cultures, but when it really comes down to it, we all want the same things.
Awesome. May I interject quick with a question that we had come in, and I think this might be a good way to show some of the similarities and differences between the pretty wide variety of places you've been able to experience. What have you found to be some of the similarities and differences in food? Food is something we all need. We all eat. Like, what have your experiences been in that realm?
Well, let's see. So I think, well, starting in Vietnam, which was probably, out of all the places we spent time, the food's probably the most different there. They use a lot of cuts of meat and things that we would here in America throw away because we deem them unedible. But I think a lot of that comes from the fact that, you know, Vietnam has had a really unstable past up until pretty recently. And I think they, you know, that really comes through in their food because they were just trying to use every bit of everything, you know, so they're not wasting any part of the animal, any part of the plant. They use all of it. And some of it is a little out there. And maybe, you know, I always like to try new things, but there are some things in Vietnam that I was like, I don't think I'll be trying that again. Yeah. I think in Bolivia, in South America, the food is pretty similar. In South America as a whole, they eat a lot more meat than anywhere else I've ever been. Yeah. Sometimes dinner consists of nothing but meat. Yeah. But at the same time, you know, we all, you know, I don't think there's a country I've ever been to where people don't eat chicken.
Yeah.
You know, everybody eats chicken.
That's everywhere.
You know, and
Yeah.
but I think that's one of my favorite parts of traveling is experiencing new food in different parts of the world. And I think that's something that is pretty different in most places than here, right?
Yeah, I think mealtime is a time to kind of come together, and it's a great like window into a culture. And so I think a lot of places we go, that's one of the first activities people are eager to invite us out to eat, to share a meal with them and kind of show us a window into their culture. But I think something here in America, I mean, and I think it's really, we haven't noticed it anywhere else like in America, but things are much slower. When it's time for a meal, you stop and you really sit down and you enjoy the food. But I think here there's a sense of urgency a lot, and fast food and prepared food is always at your fingertips. And we didn't really notice that a lot of other countries we've been to.
Yeah.
Interesting. I know you guys have some things you want to show us, some of the treasures you've brought back from your travels. So why don't we see those?
Yeah,
Let's do it. All right, so what are we going to talk about first?
So we're going to start with a singing bowl, or a bata, as it's called in this country. And so healers use the vibration and sound that this bowl makes to treat mental illness in this country. So to treat anxiety and depression. They're also used for meditation practices. So Josh is going to demonstrate. So we haven't told you what country this is from yet, because we want to play a bit of a guessing game with you. So we're going to give you guys some time to think about what country this could be from. So we have some cues. So do you think this singing bowl is from Vietnam, Nepal, or Bolivia?
All right, so we've got a good number of people watching the live stream right now, and there will certainly be more people watching the recording after the fact. So if you're at home and just saw the bowl in action, what do you think it is? Vietnam, Nepal, Bolivia? Think it to yourself, or put it in the chat bar if you want us to share your guess. But why don't we go ahead with the answer?
Okay, so the singing bowl is from Nepal.
Yes, that's right. That's right. All right.
Give yourself a point if you got it right.
Right.
Okay, so up next, our next treasure is a blanket, or it's called an aguayo in this country. So these blankets are traditionally made by indigenous women. And they're used to carry babies or small children on their backs, but sometimes they'll use them to carry food or supplies. So we're going to do a quick demo here of how you wear the aguayo. Josh's going to help me out. Okay.
There you go.
So if you can see, it's typically worn like this. We don't have a baby of our own, but we do have this little cow here to help us out. So again, we're going to give you guys some time to think of where you think the aguayo or this blanket is from. So do you think Vietnam, Nepal, or Bolivia?
All right, if you have a guess, we had one viewer correctly guess Nepal for the first item.
Oh, nice.
So we've got an early leader.
So this blanket is actually from Bolivia. Yep. And it's actually it's used all over South America in ancient Andean cultures.
In Peru, it's quite common to see these as well. Okay. All right, and then we just had one more treasure to share with you guys. You'll probably recognize that we have these here in the States as well right now. These are face masks. We're seeing a lot of.
Yep.
But in this country, these are actually worn every day, not when there's just a virus outbreak. They're worn every day to protect against dust and exhaust particles from all the motorbikes that are on the road in this country. So again, we're gonna let you guys guess. Do you think these face masks, or they're called khao trang in this country, are from Vietnam, Nepal, or Bolivia?
Some viewers might be using the process of elimination.
Yeah.
Yep, and you would be right. So they are from Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Yep. So yeah, we thought this was fitting given the times we're in right now, and now everybody in the States knows what this is. But they've been using these in Vietnam to protect against being on their motorbike for many years.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Wow. So you guys are, now that you're back in the United States, you're used to having face masks, or at least
Yeah,
the first
right.
time.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. Wow, what an interesting group of items to bring back from your travels. And thank you for sharing your stories. I'm curious to know, you seem to really be great at finding community wherever you go. And I think that has been a big part of your positive experiences with other cultures, meeting people and talking to people and understanding them. Do you have any tips that you would give for connecting with people in any country or a culture that's different than our own to foster those kind of positive relationships?
Yeah, I mean, I think a great way to do it is to do some volunteer work in some of these countries, which nowadays can be a little difficult. Finding a place that's ethical and where your volunteer work is actually helping, but you kind of have to do your own research on that. But I think volunteering is a great way to get plugged into the community, especially when you're going to go somewhere, maybe not for an extended period of time, maybe just for a month or so. You can jump right in and really experience the community that way.
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to stress that you should do your research always before jumping into volunteering with an organization. But a great way to do that is to look for reviews from past volunteers and testimonials. And I think that's been a really helpful way for us to find organizations to partner up with that are really committed to their community and that work side by side with the community. So that's a fantastic way to do it. But also I think just stay open, and you'll be surprised at how easy it is to form connections with people. No matter where you go, no matter what the language barrier is, just keep an open mind and an open heart, and it will happen.
You guys have been lucky enough to teach students in several different countries, and we have a lot of students watching today. Have there been any things that you found to be just common denominators of students everywhere? What do students around the world share?
Yeah, I think after teaching, so I've never taught students here in the States. So all of my teaching experience has been in other countries. Abby has taught students here in the US. But I think just out of looking at all those different students in different parts of the world, I mean, what blows my mind is how similar they all are. And I think maybe Abby can add to the differences between here and other countries. But yeah, it really blows my mind how similar the students are, especially the younger students. Right? Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, even comparing students here to students in Vietnam or Bolivia, I really see more similarities than anything else. I think kids learn through modeling, through experience, no matter where you are in the world. And kids, they want to, especially when we're teaching English, they want some entertainment, they want some fun.
Yeah,
they don't want us to just talk at them. They want to be involved in what's happening. And I think music has been an amazing tool for us, no matter where we are in the world. Kids, if we can connect with them in terms of music, we can usually get them excited, get them,
absolutely,
kind of into it. And that's been, I think, a great tool for us, no matter where we are.
For sure.
Do you guys have an example of a time when music really just broke through or resonated with some students?
Oh boy.
Mm.
Anything
Yeah.
coming to mind?
I do. I think like teaching when I was teaching teenagers in Vietnam, because there's already that language barrier, and I think with little kids, it's easier. You get that trust a lot quicker, but with teenagers, it takes time, and so I think I learned to like kind of have them show me what music they were into. So we learned a lot about Alan Walker and I'm trying to think Bruno Mars and like a lot more about pop music than Josh and I knew before. And so if I could start class with like just a few minutes of them kind of sharing new music with me and me caring to know what they were into, I think that really helped me break through. If I could start class like that, with some kind of connection with them, usually class went a lot better. Yep. That day.
All right, great. And even you're saying Bruno Mars, it's not a Vietnamese artist. It sounds like music sort of has transcended cultures in that way.
I mean, most places we've spent time in, American music is pretty prevalent. American and music from the UK is pretty prevalent. But definitely in Vietnam, they really love American pop music. They absolutely love it. And and like Abby said, that's something that it's not really our style of music. So we learned a lot about pop music in America on the other side of the world. So that was pretty interesting.
So we have just a couple minutes left, and I want to make sure that we talk about just your journey to being such avid travelers, because you're pretty exceptional to have visited so many places at such a young age, and not everybody is interested in doing that, or some people are still sort of discovering that passion. And I wonder how that became a passion for you.
Go first. Go for it.
This is something I kind of think a lot about. More recently, I've been thinking a lot about, and I don't know, even as a young girl, I remember just being interested. Maybe this is because I listened to the Spice Girls a lot when I was young, but I remember being interested. They're from England. If kids don't know who they are anymore. They're from England. They're a British pop band, and I remember being curious about their country and where they're from. And I've always just been curious about other people and other places. So when I went to college, I knew that I wanted to study abroad somewhere, and I was actually fortunate enough to study abroad in 2 countries. So the first country was England, so I fulfilled my dream of going to see where the Spice Girls came from. But and then I also went to Tanzania, and that was a program that actually I hadn't planned on. It just kind of happened, and I became a part of it. And that was kind of it. I caught the travel bug. I loved it. I loved being somewhere new and just learning about myself and being kind of thrown into new waters and just kind of growing and learning. And I got that bug, and I just wanted to see and experience more. So yeah, that's kind of where I think it started for me.
Yeah, so for me, when I was younger, when I was in maybe elementary school, I would travel a lot inside the United States with my mother and father, who loved to camp. So we would go all over the country camping. And at the time, it was not my favorite thing to do. I was a little kid. I just wanted to be at home playing with my friends and hanging out. But I think without me really knowing it, that sparked something inside me. And yeah, after I, was old enough to move out of the house, I really just started going everywhere I could. And then once I left the country, I think that's when I really realized what an amazing opportunity it is. And to be able to go to these other places and just see how other people live. And especially as an English speaking person, as an American, we are very privileged to be able to travel to a lot of places. There's not a country I haven't been to where somebody doesn't speak English nearby. So I think we're very lucky that we are English speakers. And yeah, I think that's something that everybody from this country should really be thankful for, because it does open so many doors for us. Yeah.
Cool. Well, this has been so interesting, and I love talking to you guys and hearing about what you've been up to. Before we let you go today, I want to ask you what we've been asking all of our live stream participants for the last couple of weeks. After you are free to roam about the country and the world again after COVID-19 pandemic is hopefully over, what's next on your radar? What future adventures would you like to have?
Well, so I think we're both pretty excited to head back to Vietnam, actually. Yeah, out of all the places we spent time, we just really enjoyed there the most. So when this is all over, hopefully sooner rather than later, that's where we'll be headed, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be back to Vietnam.
Great. Well, I hope you both get there quickly. I know that you had such a great time there, and I'm sure you will again someday soon. It's been such a pleasure talking to you both. I love checking in with you and seeing some of the cool treasures you've brought back from your travels. I want to thank our entire YouTube live stream audience for joining us today. You can join us again there's a full lineup of amazing live stream events left to go this week. You can find the complete listing of upcoming Reach the World live stream events at athome.reachtheworld.org. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, Abby and Josh.
Thanks,
Bye. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thank you.